Welcome to the Millionaire Next Door podcast with Robert Curtis, CFP accredited investment fiduciary from Signature Estate and Investment Advisors. In this podcast, we help successful wealth accumulators like you looking to transition to a work-optional lifestyle by helping you build strategies for growing and maintaining your wealth. Robert draws from years of experience and fiduciary responsibility and interviews guest experts to help you build reliable strategies to grow and maintain your wealth. Now, on to the show.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into the Millionaire Next Door podcast and investing your time today. We approach Thanksgiving here. Elections are done, but today we have some terrific guests I'm really excited about. A big part of my practice that not everyone necessarily sees is I go out of my way to meet with a lot of other aligned professionals, really enlightened folks that I think could help clients or help me in serving them. It's what I call a value-added support team. And along those lines, recently engaged quite a bit with a couple of CPAs. This is Ilona and Takaya Brunner. Please correct me if I've mispronounced anything. They are a husband and wife team. They're CPAs in Southern California. We had a very, very enlightened conversation about how they serve their clients, their focus, who they're best suited to serve, their approach, just a lot of stuff, how they incorporate their family dynamics and live their life and aren't complete slaves to their business, and how that's a great model for the business clients they serve, and just resonated on a lot of levels. So with that super long-winded intro, I'd like to introduce you guys, and please go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe tell us about yourself and your practice and who you serve and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us. Robert, this is great. We're excited and the feelings are mutual. So we also love to meet amazing professionals like yourself for our clients. So we totally understand the importance of doing that. And so, yeah, we're really excited to be here. I'm Ilona Brunner, Takaya here.
Takaya Brunner over here.
We started the practice in 2019. We have a full service accounting firm, and we service clients, honestly, that are like us, right? They're busy business owners. We both come from Big Four accounting firm backgrounds. PwC and KPMG, went to a smaller firm before Brunner Accounting. And what we realize is we really have a passion for helping business owners that are on the smaller end and just ensuring that they feel taken care of, that they can call someone and they get back to them right away. And so we started in 2019 with this dream of starting in a great accounting practice, but also having a life and having children that we can spend time with, and having it all, honestly, I think is the way I describe it. And we're happy to say we kind of feel like not only, have we achieved that, but we continue to focus on that for us and our team. So I'll let Takaya introduce himself and
yeah, Takaya Brunner, excited to be here as well. And yeah, I think that Ilona hit the nail on the head, which is just looking to help business owners, giving them that sort of service, making sure their money feels like it's being spent in a good way and it matters. And, they're getting the service that they deserve, right? And that's sort of built into the core values that we built for our practice, which is you should be able to feel like a great professional, have a great professional side of your life, but also being able to marry that with the family side and be able to do things that, matter to you.
Right.
That is so inspiring, because oddly, it should be the goal, right, of all of us to have a life, to have it all, right, to lean into those things. I think about it. I just see so many business owners so caught up in their business. And so they're serving everyone first, but maybe themselves last or not at all, and running down their health or compromising or under stress. And it's just not a healthy model. So it clearly stood out that you guys have really, not to say you don't, get it done when you need to and get the work done, but you've also got these other aspirational goals and you're doing it. I'm wrestling with mine myself. Maybe it's 52 long weekends a year. Maybe it's someday taking a sabbatical and leaving someone else to run it, and the place running like a Swiss watch when I'm not there for some period of time. But to think about stuff like that, and a lot of people just don't feel they can do it. So hats off. That's what really sparked this conversation. You guys are, how do you guys do as a husband and wife team with young children? That's a great dynamic. You're just make, it's what you know, but it's definitely inspiring. So I just
Thank
stood
you so
out. Yeah.
much. I mean, I think it would be, disingenuous to say that it's just us, right? Like we've got a great team that helps on the professional side, but also our family is very close. So when my dad chose to retire from being a teacher, he moved 10 minutes away. And Ilona's mom is 10 minutes away. Her sister's 10 minutes away. Her cousins are 10 minutes away. So it really is, we're sort of leaning into that American vision of it taking a village and the family getting together and really supporting us and helping us on the various pieces that we need, and also allows us to help those in our family as well if they need help as well.
Right. And what's interesting, Robert, is I actually think so. We started when we already had two young children. So we had our third in 2020 after we started the business. And what we actually found was that it was more challenging to parent and have a family life that made sense, just that worked for us when we weren't self-employed. And so frankly, yes, there are some challenges and different stressors involved when you're self-employed. But really for us, it gave us that room and the flexibility to just make it all work right for ourselves. And so no day looks the same, which can be challenging, but also very liberating because you can squeeze in things that matter to you. So, everyone, we're all different. We have different strengths, but I think that the reason it works is because Takaya are good at different things, I say. So we do complement one another. I don't think there are many areas where both of us come to, a situation with that same, I don't know, like level of skill. And maybe many times we're complementing each other's skill set, right?
I would say is that when I'm freaked out, Ilona's not.
That's
when Ilona's freaked out, I'm not. And I think there's only been one time when we've been both freaked out, and then we know, all right, let's take some deep breaths here.
Right. But I don't know, it's just, I think the flexibility is what works for us, and the fact that we do complement each other. We're really not going head to head on a lot of things. And then when we started the practice, we were very intentional with the model. So we really started knowing what the end game, what we wanted that to look like. And so we have built the model and have been very, very intentional with outlining our ideal client profile, outlining the, systems and processes, because without that, I think you just let your business run you instead of you running your business. And so we've been very clear pretty early on that we don't want to wake up one day and go, oh, shoot, we no longer want to run this thing we built. And then it's a lot harder to walk away, right? It's a little easier to walk away from a job that you're not liking anymore or feeling fulfilled in, but it's a little more challenging to walk away from a business you built and when you have a team of people that rely on you, right? So I do think that was an advantage we had, but it's because we started with some experience. We started with understanding the challenges we had as a family because we already had young kids, and knowing what we wanted our ideal work day to look like. And so I think that's helped us.
Yeah.
And we continue having to realign, remind ourselves of those core values and what works and
the way we
the
started,
decisions.
yeah, and I would, jump in. The way we started as well is like, you see a lot of stuff online today about, being an entrepreneur and a business owner and starting it the right way. And for us, it did sort of start as a side hustle. And then it did sort of start into Ilona, running with it and me keeping down the W-2 and the health insurance. And then it went into, okay, we're getting success we can replace. Now let's jump both feet in, burn all the boats, and there's no going back type thing. But it wasn't a, hey, we've got all these obligations, so let's just jump 2 feet in right away, right? It sort of built on top of that, and it was one decision that led to another, and then as you start having more and more success in certain areas, then you can be like, okay, let's take it to the next level. And then, to be fair as well, it did help that, we didn't have massive expenses that we were obligated to, right? So we didn't have massive obligations that we had to build on top of. We could really take the risks that were needed.
Yep, that's right.
Well, that's great. Yeah, with that end in mind and running it. And then a couple things I want to touch. Why don't you talk about who you're best suited for, really I know you have a limited practice, kind of like myself. We're serving people with a lot in common, attitudinal qualities. Maybe they introduce us certain levels of revenue. But a lot of those aspirational qualities and the business owners. And I also, as a side topic, I do want to touch on, maybe if we have time, the CPA. I call it sort of the dilemma. It's really hard to find folks that have capacity, it's just a big challenge. They're not bringing people into the industry. I talk to different CPAs, and I don't know that everyone's aware. So if someone's thinking about switching, it's like a real, wow, we better make sure we have a place to go to, because there's not too many open boats that you even want to get on. But that's a long question there, but maybe I'll let you address some of that. And
why
don't you start with your approach? I
think it's great. And I think it is, we can have a full hour conversation about sort of where the practice, the industry's headed, as well as where professional services is headed, and our opinions and all that sort of stuff. But, our practice is, we're just looking to help small business owners who have found success and love what they're doing, but they didn't realize that starting a business just came with a bunch of other stuff. And so they're hitting, they got 7 digits in top line, they got $1 million in revenue, and they're like hitting on all cylinders, and they just don't feel like they're able to enjoy the success that they've built. And there's always a question like, why is it like my top line keeps going up and I just don't understand why I'm busier? I feel like I have less money. I feel like I owe 6 digits to the government all the time. Everybody's pestering me. There's all these things going on and I just don't know why. And I'm trying to Google it. I'm trying to get help, but I just don't have somebody that can help us. And that's our ideal client, because that's where we come in and then say, look, all of those challenges and problems that you have on your plate, if you imagine a world without those, where you can just focus on the things that drove you to start the business in the first place, we take all of that headache off your plate. That sneaking feeling in the back of your head as you're going to sleep that I feel like I forgot something and I feel like the IRS is going to be mad at me. that's that we take that feeling away, because in our opinion, with the internet and everything, anybody can Google anything. But the challenge you're running into does that information pertain to my specific situation at this given moment, given everything that I want out of it? I just need a clear answer. Sometimes I just need somebody to tell me what to do. And that's how we've built our practice, that we sort of take all those problems off. So we take care of your back office accounting, your bookkeeping, we take care of your tax compliance, we take care of your tax planning on the business and personal side, we take care of any city business licenses, we take care of any California state registrations, we take care of any HR and payroll things that you need, if you need to register in other states, basically all of that compliance and just the nuts and bolts of this business that frankly we had to do for our own business, right? So we've actually lived this and done it for ourselves, and that's why we know the level of service and effort needed to provide this to our clients. And so that's where we come in, and we sort of built it in a way that we connect with clients on a monthly basis, and they can call us for any questions, and it's all included, so that then they feel like we're a resource where they can pick up the phone and ask us questions and not be self-conscious about, is this in scope, out of scope, anything along those nature. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of how we built our practice. And, I think the other thing that I would also build on that is to say, life is busy and there are important things that you should be doing. And there is an opportunity for you to focus on those and finding good vendors that can then support you on your mission to living that life that you want. And our core values that we put on our website, we live that ourselves, and we try to be the vendors that can allow our clients to live their core values, meaning we take problems off their plate and provide solutions as opposed to adding more problems to their plate. And that's sort of our true north about how we solve problems clients have and the types of clients that would have those sorts of problems.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. I think Takaya's last point is really important about our clients tend to be busy. They're busy business owners running, growing businesses, and they usually have people they're managing, usually have families, right? They just have things going on. And clearly they have relationships with other professionals before they find us most of the time, right? They either have an internal bookkeeper, an external bookkeeper, a CPA, lawyers, advisors, all those types of professionals. But I think what resonates with the clients that choose to work with us is the value in having one person or one point of contact, one firm responsible for multiple roles. And so they're feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, and frankly, they feel like they're failing at managing the bookkeeper and the CPA and the person helping them with HR needs. And they're in the middle of that spoke, and they're saying, I don't know why it's so difficult. These people aren't talking to each other, or they're pointing fingers and saying, well, the return can't be done until the books are finalized, but the books can't be finalized until the CPA weighs in. And so it's always someone else's fault, and there are always delays. And then frankly, the business owner doesn't have the time or energy or expertise to step in and say, no, this is what's going to happen. This is why this happened. And here's how we're going to solve for this. And so the can just keeps getting kicked down the road. And frankly, then returns get filed right before the deadlines, and they're probably not planning for the current year because they're so busy trying to figure out last year. And so it just ends up snowballing into this massive issue where cash management gets affected, planning never gets done. We're always worried about the past instead of looking forward. And so I do think that a big part of the value we bring to clients is, listen, if it's going well, it's our fault. If it's not going well, it's our fault. And it's kind of liberating to have them go, great, now I have one firm that I can look at and say, okay, you're helping with the books, you're doing the taxes, and you're helping me with the people side of my business. So wonderful. If it works, it's beautiful. And if it doesn't work, then it's your fault. There is no finger pointing, right? It's just us. And so that model works very well with the clients we service. And that's not for everyone, right? Which is totally fine. I mean, that's why there are different practices out there and different individuals with different skill sets. But I do think that that's a big part of what we do, is really trying to be as full service and taking off as many problems from our clients' plates, so that if it's the right relationship and the right fit, then it works really beautifully.
Yeah, you said so much there that resonated. I have an extensive fit process. I mean, it took me years to get there, but when the fit is right, those attitudinal qualities, but having these deep discussions, kind of liberating them to go live their lives and do what they need to do, either run a business or they can pick up the phone or shoot me an email. We'll give them good quality advice, or if they're freaking out about something, the election, or what's going to happen with this new appointment or this tax law change, we can give them some perspective and thoughts around that. But I enjoy probably nothing more than when a lot of clients traveling all around the world, and I'm going to Spain for 3 weeks, or they reach out to me. I'm in Spain. I'm in Mallorca. We're boarding a cruise in Alaska. I'm in my RV out of this national park, and I've got a little bit of internet connection, so I wanted to connect with you. So we're always there, kind of on the go, kind of always on when needed, and just to give them, kind of hold down the fort, to let them go out and do this type of stuff. So I think it's so powerful that you're running the business, but you're that example, and you can say lean into this enjoyment of life. I mean, that's liberating them to do that is so powerful. I even think of parenting, which it never gets easier. I'm always trying to learn it, what to do better. But I think of all those when I was first learning, they don't really listen to what you say when they watch what you do, and they just emulate what you do. But it's kind of like that old Peanuts, right? The womp, womp, womp. That's what they're hearing, but they're studying what you're doing. And I think clients that if they can see you can take that on and be an example and to deliberate them, that's just huge. So, and yeah, so we've aligned on so many levels. Are you guys using AI to help you achieve some of this, or is that's the topic du jour? So I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think AI is going to be, as they say, a force multiplier in our business, right? It's going to allow us to really do what needs to be done in professional services, in my opinion, which is really listening to clients, identifying their problems, and providing solutions to those. And then AI allows us to just supercharge on all that sort of stuff, right? Where a lot of the compliance or value add or anything like that can be built on top of using AI to help and, build tools or at least approaches to things that, can then help the clients. For example, some of the stuff that we're using is we've got a knowledge base internally about our procedures and how we take care of things. And AI allows us to query the knowledge base in order to help the team know how to do certain things. The other is I hate starting with a blank piece of paper. So being able to start with thoughts and direction on certain things, whether it's a marketing plan or anything like that, is great. And then also taking into account all the various tools that are being built to help with the actual day-to-day process of it, whether it's gathering documents and pushing them directly into tax software, whether it's reviewing tax returns for, advice or anything like that, or whether it's taking advantage on the bookkeeping side in terms of AI capabilities. All those sorts of things I think are just going to empower the practice to really take care of a lot of blocking and tackling, and then really push us to then, as a firm and as a collective whole, just provide better curated bespoke service to clients in a world where so much general stuff can be taken care of. Then you're almost turning into like the mechanic who's now seeing an upsurge in work because people want gas engines worked on, right? It's sort of like we come in here, our work is now really understanding the clients to then identify problems and solutions to them and plan specifically for their specific needs, for their specific situation, for their specific goals. And if we didn't have an ability to take care of the blocking and tackling, then so much of the business would just be, does this form go here? Does that form go here? Does this number go in this box? How many people have put their initials next to this box? That sort of stuff. More than that is going to start fading away.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the way we view it and how it's starting to help our business now and will continue into the future is really just putting efficiency on fire, right? I think that certain things that took longer are just not taking as long, which is great because then, like Takaya said, we can actually focus on more client service, actually meeting with clients more often, right? Listening to them, unpacking more issues. But, frankly, if a firm is at capacity with just working more on compliance, which most taxpayers don't really care about, they do it because they have to. They're not saying, oh, let me look at that tax return to make sure you added every single number accurately, right? No, like what they care about is, how do I make my business better? How do I save more money? How do I get more money in my pocket? How do I secure my financial future? How do you work with other people in my life to make sure we're all on the same page and have this aligned strategy? That's the stuff they care about. And frankly, for us, that's the stuff that's more interesting. We love being CPAs, but we don't love being CPAs because we put numbers on forms, right? Like that is not the goal. That's not what wakes us up in the morning is great. Can't wait to get started. So I do think it's just making the less value added things easier to do, faster to do. And so then we can focus on things that people care more about. It's pretty exciting. I think it can feel a little overwhelming because of course it's a new skill set. I think learning to prompt engineer, am I using that right wording, is something that has to be learned and taught and practiced so that you can have AI help you. And so, I can't lie and say I feel like I'm super great at it yet, but I think we all have to start learning that more and more to just have us be empowered.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier where it was like back in the day, internet's coming out, people are tinkering on their own websites, and then 10 years later you go, how did this person become the preeminent web developer? And it's kind of like because they were tinkering and building and doing things that would make their own life better, and suddenly it became a service that other people wanted. Right. AI and prompting and all that sort of stuff, and using AI to build solutions and making it more streamlined. That stuff, I think professionals are really leaning into now to then just sort of help make their business better. And then 5-10 years from now, you'll be like, wow, how did this lawyer suddenly become this like really great AI, architect or whatever it is, right? And sort of building it out because they just started building things for themselves and then finding a practice. And I think, as we continue to talk about this, we say, look, there are large waves in our industry, right? And as professionals and entrepreneurs, our goal is to ride these waves, not to let those waves crash on us. And so as it's sort of everybody's duty as you look to your vision of what the future looks like, to say, look, whether it's building your core values in a way or reframing the problem statement or whatever it is, to say, I want to go to bed excited for the future and excited to ride this wave that's going to make everybody's life better, than go to bed scared that something's going to crash on me and I'm going to wake up and all my clients are going to leave and there's some disruptive force that just ruins my business, right? So we choose to take the former approach and sort of build on top of that and just continue to, look for exciting ways to build it and really solve client challenges and problems and really understand what is the core of a professional services industry who, in our specific case, focuses on complying with rules from the government.
Yep.
Yeah, again, so well said, and there was so much that resonated. I'm using it a lot too for the blocking and tackling and to measure things and to give advice, and we have a process. I call it our process, objective, unemotional, rules-based. I use a database that used to take a team of 10 people the entire week to analyze 200 relationships. Now they do north of 37 million overnight, and I get a report of the outliers. That's very helpful.
Right.
But it frees me up instead of spending my time to do that. The things that you're alluding to, I totally resonate with. Really listening to the client. What are they saying? Maybe coaching them to say, you can take this trip, or what about this gift you want to gift off to your child or grandchild, or the business owner? What are you doing? Liberating them. Or someone who's just worried, we're headed in, we've gone through the election, but look at everything, look at the mounting debt. This is my life savings. I'm scared to death that, I just got off the TV. So kind of filtering out the noise and looking at the message and trying to look at the pure data, but really understanding as a real person that I don't think AI can do yet, to really understand what it's like to live your legacy. It can't answer those things yet. I think they're trying to humanize it, which is a little scary, but it's just a tool. Even ChatGPT, I had a really interesting conversation. My wife has used it a lot for work or for emails, and she uses it. I had never used it until recently. So I asked it, I said, what if we just run it and we ask it to summarize this podcast? And she said, well, it'll just give you a list of all your guests and all this. And I said, I don't know. I think it's going to go deeper. I think it's going to give a pretty good summary of what it is we're communicating here. So we did this thing in about 8 seconds. It kicks back an answer that was an awfully good summary. It's not if you've listened to it or if you run it and know all the in-depth, but I'm like, this is a pretty good summary of what I've spent the last 2.5 years doing. And it kicked it back through a machine in 8 seconds. That's still pretty powerful, you know? And then I know people who are looking at us, you know, they might, if they're looking for the right financial advisor or CPA, you know, they may say, I mean, like, for example, if you're looking for a CPA, you may say, hey, I'm a successful business owner. I own a HVAC business, and we're about to sell for $41 million. I need to have the right CPA team who will take care of all my issues. And I'm interviewing folks. What are the core questions I should be asking them? How do I figure that out? It might give some pretty good tips and pointers. So there's some savvy people using it, but I still think over time, certainly with COVID, just listening to folks, that relationship, knowing where they're at, the history, those dynamics all matter. And that's what people really want, is an engaged, sort of trusted partner. And you guys seem, you know, like an ideal fit for folks that you deem would be a good fit in your practice. So much resonated there. I don't know.
And I mean, as we look through sort of where everything's going, I mean, we're continuing to build, we're sort of community focused, right? As if you're looking at where big sort of industry and trends and everything's going, is there's a lot of communities, there's micro communities, there's people collaborating on these sorts of things, and communities for entrepreneurs, there's communities for a lot of things. And so, yeah, I mean, as you continue to build, those personal connections are more and more important as you try and give advice and listen and hear what's going on. I think that's a continued focus on these pieces. And one of the reasons I brought it up is because sometimes for entrepreneurs as well, there's a loneliness there, right? Where you don't know who to turn to, you don't know what questions to ask, you're all in, you're both feet in, and it's, you know, you're sitting there thinking, well, do I do this or do I do that? I think there's a couple avenues that open up in terms of entrepreneurial organization, in terms of hitting up ChatGPT to be like, what's some good ideas? But then it's also like looking for professional relationships,
Right.
that then are partners in how do we go through this? How can I ask questions here? What is the right approach to take, given everything you know about what I'm doing? Because you're not going to get, you know, life continues to get more complicated as you build in things. And it is nice sometimes where you're like, just do this, do ABC, and all your challenges will go away, right? And you're like, great, I can execute. Sometimes I just need a path for execution so I can be a visionary in other aspects, right?
That's so well said. And the partnership, sometimes, you know, the 1 + 1 = 3, or it's squared or it's cubed. It's just really that power of the wisdom to help folks make good decisions and move on to really live their lives. So this is great. I'm going to start respect your time and start to kind of land the plane here. I was wondering if there's anything you wanted to add that maybe we didn't cover. Even, I don't know if there's any tax tips people should think about for 2025, or any other elements with regard to practice, life, anything that you thought might be good to share before we
I mean, I
kind of
think
wrap
from
up.
my perspective, a couple of the most interesting things, like we've sort of made a bunch of mistakes and sort of learned from it, and we'd be lucky to be able to ask questions. I think for business owners that feel overwhelmed, read Profit First. That's an awesome book. I'm sure you've gone through. Profit First is really, in my opinion, a great approach to say, okay, can I take some of this jumble of things going on in my head and just have a system, and then I can just rely on the system, right? So I think that's a good thing that we've learned. I would also say write your core values, you know, sort of why you're doing things. What do you stand for as a business? Why do you do on that? I think those are like some main things. And then I think the other thing, given existing relationships with, say, professionals, I think, you know, get earlier if you're sort of looking for the end of the year, right? Like, if you wait till the last minute on this stuff, professionals are people too, right? So if you're waiting on your CPA to reach out to you for a year-end meeting, just send the email now. You want to be first on the list rather than end of the list. And then, to be fair, probably schedule 3 more meetings for next year, right? Let's get on a quarterly basis. Let's just start being proactive about this. Let's start managing tax savings accounts and all that sort of stuff so that then you're in a position of power as opposed to a position of being behind the 8 ball and sort of taking charge of those pieces. And once you sort of feel empowered and taking charge and driving forward those conversations, then, you're probably in a good spot to then say, okay, great, here are more challenges and problems that I would like them to take on. But those, I think, would be my main tips from us sort of just living it for the last 5 years. What do you think, Ilona?
I totally agree with everything you said. I think all those things are really important to both our success and client success. But I'll just expand on the last point where Takaya was saying, really, if you've not gotten on the calendar with professionals for year end, a lot of people think about planning like almost end of the year, what else can be done? But frankly, if you have not been thinking about this throughout the year, then the answer is a lot of the time very little, right? Because you have not set aside the cash. You have not prepared for actually executing on some of these items, right? It's easy to say, oh, it can just go spend more money on more equipment because of depreciation, or, oh, okay, you can pull the trigger on the cart. But let's face it, right? We're already in mid-November. We have 6 weeks left in the year. There's a lot happening in those 6 weeks, right? It's not as easy to do that and to actually execute on some of these great strategies last minute. So we, again, really believe in the monthly model of having a relationship with our clients, because what it allows us to do is in real time say, wow, great, second quarter was much better than expected. It's mid-year. Now's a really good time to start thinking about some of these things, because if you think this is going to continue, we're going to be in this position. So I'd say it feels really overwhelming and challenging to always be operating from a position of, oh, there's this deadline coming up. Oh my gosh, we got to do this. We got to meet. We got to talk, versus it feeling very scheduled and routine. And so I recommend for business owners to try to get on a routine and a schedule with meeting with the professionals in their life that can help them make these decisions, that can save them money, that can save, create peace of mind, that can bring clarity. And that's not easy. It's like saying, okay, I'm going to hire a personal trainer. Great, that's step 1. Step 2 is showing up and doing the exercising. Step 3 is eating better in the kitchen. It's a whole process, and it feels daunting in the beginning. But I promise you, I think when business owners finally have had enough and do that, then a couple months later, after they've done that really challenging work, they just feel completely at ease and liberated. And, all of a sudden it's like, wow, I didn't know life could be like this. So that's what I've learned. It's just helping people get to that point isn't that challenging if they are willing and able to onboard some people and to invest some time in that new relationship for the first couple months.
Yeah, and I wanted to add on something too. Just as you were talking and sort of continued to spark things, like what are things that we're going through, as well as with our clients, it's like our ideal clients are typically pass-through entities, right? And generally you can't break apart the personal and the business, right? So you focus so much on the business, but then a lot of stress as well is coming from the personal, where the business maybe isn't producing the kind of income that you're looking for, whatever it is, but then how does that impact the personal side? And also thinking through and saying like, okay, remember, we created the business, or the business should help service the business owner, right? And that's also part of Profit First, but it's to say, throughout the year, can you set aside 5% that goes into a profit account that then you can pay yourself out of? And you just got to run the business on 95%. And once you've got that, that's like a little extra bonus that then you can use to fund travel accounts. Or you can say, you know what, I've got to calculate my fixed cost. What is my break even to live? And okay, that is what I need from the business. And then on top of that, you then say, okay, how much do I want to save? How much do I want to invest? And then the rest is fun money, and sort of taking that approach and being like, okay, understanding that stresses also come from the personal side, and maybe not understanding what your personal fixed costs are. So you don't know what the business has to produce in order for you to personally break even, having that clarity, especially in my experience, business owners, allows them to say, this is my goal. I need the business to provide for me $10,000 a month. And once it does that, now I can start layering in, okay, how do I make it more efficient? How can I build more things? And then you just sort of set to yourself the goal and say, okay, I just got to solo op this until I get 10,000 a month in my thing that covers my fixed costs and expenses. And now I've set aside 5% on top of that for my fun money. It helps me budget. But then everything on top, now I can start focusing on systems and processes. And I found, especially for us as well, is that takes a big stressor off your plate, because you know everything's going to be okay, right? Like,
Yeah.
you will still have a home, you'll still have your fixed things, you'll still cover those pieces, and you've set what the milestones and benchmarkers have to be for your business. Because not knowing, there's, as I say, there's always that thing in the back of your mind. If you don't do the work to know what the answer is, you're always like, I feel like, is this enough? Is this not enough? Can I make this investment? Can I not make that
Can I
investment?
hire this other
Can I hire
person?
this person? Can I not?
Right.
And I think the base is like, well, can you pay for your house first? Okay, then you're good. Now everything else is gravy. Let's figure this out, right? And that, I think, is a really good exercise, especially at the end of the year, to really say, okay, you may not be able to, suddenly create a massive 401k plan, cash balance plan at the end of the year. I'm sure there's time to do some of those things, but then sitting down and saying, what are my personal break-even points? What are these things? Can then empower you getting ready for 1/1/2025 to say, this is how I'm setting my goals, and it's all layered like that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's such a good summary. That so jives with, the way I think about things, these regular check-ins, maybe setting up these plans, not when you're in the midst of some deadline, having a regular check-in, taking these small steps, just doing the work. Your analogy to the fitness, with these gyms are packed, right, for the first 12 days of the year, and then it dies off. But fitness doesn't work that way. You have to be working on it. So we are wrapping up the year. It's mid to late. We're just about heading into Thanksgiving as we record this. It'll probably be right towards the end of the year. A common theme: just take care of yourself. Take impeccable care of yourself. If you're a business owner, in order to take care of your clients, or if you're a parent, to help best serve your children or your community, or even your partner, right? If they're not taking good care of themselves, it's hard to be engaged and fully there for them. So it sounds like there's so much commonality. I'm going to let you go out of respect for your time, but this has been so much fun to collaborate. And I think listeners get a really good idea of your practice and who you are. If you'd like to be connected to them, feel free to reach out to me. We'll put your contact info in the show notes if anyone does want to reach out. But we're really trying to make a significant difference for folks and help them live better lives. That's what I hear you saying, 100%. And it can be done, but there's a lot of people in need of help, and we're happy to help those that we really, the select community that where we really partner up. So thanks for being here. This was a great way to.
Thanks for having us.
So we had a great time. Thank you so much.
Great. We'll stay in touch, and maybe we'll have you back in 6 months or something like that. I'd love to. So,
happy to. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, have a great one. Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Millionaire Next Door podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Signature Estate and Investment Advisors. Signature Estate and Investment Advisors, LLC, SEIA, is an SEC registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. Securities offered through Signature Estate Securities LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through SEIA LLC, 2121 Avenue of the Stars, Suite 1600, Los Angeles, California, 90067. Telephone number 310-712-2323.
All investing involves risk. Past performance does not indicate future results. Specific products discussed are not suitable for all investors.